We're back with another episode of the One Poor Problems podcast. I am excited to be joined by Marietta Lee, President and CEO of the Lee Company. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Sal. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we dive into the episode, I think we need to talk a little bit about where we are right now because we have quite the view. Tell us about this museum.
Okay, so we are at the Lee Company. We're at in a building. It's the Museum of Early Engineering Technology. So there's a lot of artifacts of engineering lore and the space program, various slide rules, which you probably don't remember. I don't remember, but engineers used to use them to make calculations before there were calculators. All sorts of doodads from the space program and rockets and all sorts of things. So it was my father's sort of project. He started collecting things and then at one point had enough in his collection to open a museum. And it's great because a lot of the things in the museum are things that were involved in the history of the Lee Company. Yeah. We were involved in a lot of the early space missions, so it's fun to have some of that stuff here on campus.
Yeah, absolutely. We took a tour around earlier and we're looking at all the different things, and there's some really cool stuff here. So I love the idea of having it here on the campus, and then that way, like employees and customers and people can see it. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, our customers love it, and some of our customers, some of their artifacts are in here as well, cool. And they love seeing sort of old things that their companies made that we have parts in.
Yeah, I love that. So now we'll pivot into the important part here, which is the drink. So we have martinis here. Tell us, why are we drinking these today? Why are they significant?
So I love martinis, and they're sort of a pain to make. You have to have the ice and the shaker and all sorts of measurements, and they're never, for me at least, quite cold enough. So I have developed the icebox martini, which is basically vodka, and you just add some water to it, and some olive juice, and you put it in your freezer. And we all know that vodka won't freeze, and most of the time olive juice doesn't freeze because it's very salty, but the water will freeze in the vodka in ice crystals. So you basically come out, you can take the bottle of vodka and water and olive juice out of your freezer and it's like a slushie, which is my kind of martini.
Yeah, I love that. You made me do mine the old-fashioned way, but I'm excited to have these drinks.
Mine's colder than yours.
Yes, it is. For sure.
Cheers.
All right, that's awesome. Great. So, again, President and CEO of the Lee Company, a pretty amazing history in this organization. I believe you're third generation.
Third generation, yeah. My grandfather started the company 78 years ago. Basically with a good idea, and I think the story goes at $15 in the bank account and a bunch of little kids running around at his dining room table, and started the company. He was sort of a mad inventor with all sorts of ideas, and it went from there. My dad was his eldest son, and he came back home after pursuing a legal career to help run the business, and all of his siblings worked here in various iterations. His youngest brother, Bill, after my dad retired, took over as president, and then I came in as president 2 years ago, but I've been with the organization for over 25 years.
Wow. Yeah, and I know your background is, I would say, not a traditional background into leading a defense aerospace organization. You started off in the media world as like an investigative journalist, right?
Yeah.
So talk to us about that.
Yeah, I was graduating college right around the time of, the JonBenet Ramsey trial and the O.J. Simpson trial, and there were a lot of lawyers becoming journalists, and I thought that was so interesting. So I became a lawyer, and then right out of law school went into journalism and worked in journalism while I was in law school, working part-time for the Supreme Court correspondent at ABC News and CBS News, doing their research and stuff like that. So when I got out of law school, it was a pretty seamless transition, and went into investigative journalism, and then worked later for Court TV, which used to be live coverage of trials and things like that. Yeah, so and then now I'm running a hydraulic engineering business, so total pivot. But a member of the family, and I think journalism taught me how to ask questions, and that's what I continue to do today. And I think that's, I'm very curious about a lot of things and willing to learn.
Yeah. So what was like the moment that made you, make the change, right? Because you were in a career that you wanted to be in. It was an exciting time to be in it. And again, when you came here, it wasn't like, all right, I'm going from, what I'm enjoying doing right now to being the president and CEO of the company, because that is not what happened here.
That is not at all. What happened, and I don't know that there was one moment, but I had 2 little kids. I was working in journalism, which is very demanding, and your schedule is not your own, ever. You always had to have your bags packed in case something happened and you needed to go out on a story. It was a very rewarding and fun job, but it was also very demanding and not family friendly. Yeah. So there became a point in time, I was living in Washington, where my husband and I decided we needed to be closer to our families on the East Coast, and decided to make the move. And I was in Connecticut interviewing for journalism jobs, and my dad said, "What do you think about joining the business?" And I said, "I don't think so." Anyway, long story short, I after some long conversations with him, decided to. Little did I know, after making that commitment to him and the family that I would join the business, that the family employment policy requires family members to take the job at less than the going rate for the job.
Nice.
So that was interesting, and my job was the assistant facilities manager. I kept saying I don't have any skills that correlate, and he kept saying, "Well, you can produce a TV show, and you can produce this. You can build a building. You can help. We need to build some new buildings. You can do that." I wasn't quite sure, but I learned as I went, and worked my way up from assistant facilities manager to facilities manager, and then went back to school at night to get a degree in master's degree in engineering management, which led me into positions running some product groups and things like that, and then eventually to COO and now CEO. So yeah.
Very cool. I love talking to different leaders, and specifically about like the journey to where they are today, because I feel like when you talk to people that are entering the workforce now, or maybe people in college, they think that it's a very direct path, and they're like, I'm going to get into a job and I'm there, and then I'm going to climb all the way up and be at the top. And I've had so many people on the podcast now who have all had such very different career paths, whether they were like, one of them was an accountant who then pivoted to running the manufacturing for a shop in Connecticut, and now is running the company. And it's like, same with your background, very different, but then made the pivot and was able to continue to like grow and get yourself to be in the position you are today. Right.
I mean, there's so few people that actually do what they thought they were going to do when they were 5 years old. I mean, I wanted to be a movie star, and then I was going to be a psychiatrist for a while. I think I started undergraduate as a pre-med student, and you sort of pivot all over the place. But I think there's so many things to be learned by different career paths, and what I learned in journalism, I do take that with me every day. Like, I'm fearless when I ask questions. I'm never worried about asking a dumb question, because all questions are good questions, and so I bring that with me, and like what I learned in law school I bring with me, and things like that. But and I always say, like, to the high school kids when they're applying to college and people, what are you going to major in? It's like, I always laugh because I think there's not a chance that they're going to graduate majoring in what they set out to do. And same with career paths. Like, you never sort of wind up where you think you're going to.
Yeah. And I love the perspective of like, you can learn something in anything that you're doing and translate those things. Even for me, I'm an accountant. I should not be running a podcast. Typically you would see me as somebody like behind a desk, not talking to people kind of thing.
Yeah. So what accounting skills are you using right now?
I am calculating how many ounces into the drink.
Very good. Right? Yeah.
So
see?
Translate a little bit of things there.
You're a good martini maker.
Something like that.
On your podcast as a result of your accountancy skills.
Exactly. See? So there's some things that'll translate, but it is interesting to see, the different paths that people might take. So, yeah, I think that's really cool. And, you've talked about bringing fearlessness into asking questions. Anything else that you can think of that you bring now into like you leading the organization that you took from that experience?
Certainly, I never feel like I'm the smartest person in the room. I try to surround myself with really people that are smarter than me. I never want to be the smartest person. I always want to be asking questions and making sure that I understand the issue that we're facing or the problem that we're trying to tackle in that meeting. And certainly my legal skills translate. Again, most lawyers ask a lot of questions. Never assume that they know the answer, but ask a lot of questions, get a lot of background.
Yeah. Very cool. So if we talk about like your start as the assistant facility manager and working your way up, do you think that had any impact on how people view you as the president and CEO of the company today? Like as far as like credibility and like, proving that you've done the things to get there?
I like to think so. I hope so. I hope that, they see that I've worked my way through the organization and not sort of came in at a senior level just because I had the right last name. I think my dad purposely gave me the smallest office in the whole company when I came in. He didn't want it to look like I was getting any special treatment. And I don't think I was adequately prepared for, I wouldn't call it a microscope, but the eyes on me. Always like, okay, let's see what she's made of. Let's see, does she show up on time for work, or is she early, or is she late? And I felt like I wasn't prepared for all the eyeballs on me. I don't know that. I think I was warned. I think my dad said everyone's going to be watching you, but I didn't really pay attention till I was there. So I think that is a particular challenge in a family business, is making sure that the family members, are worthy of the job that they're in. And I would say that they work extra hard to show everybody else that they're in it to win it and not just taking a cushy job. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. And so, thinking back to that time, like, was there any lessons you took away that you were like, these were the things that I did to build trust in the organization, and because you're a new employee at the time, but you're also a family member, right? And so building trust with the people around you. Is there anything that you did in particular, whether you came into work early every day? I always was I stayed late.
I tried to set a good example. I did try to be early, certainly never late, stay a little bit later than everybody else, certainly not leave early. I mean, I was very cognizant of that, and I was very cognizant of not overstepping in a way. I mean, you have to remember that a lot of the people that worked here worked with my grandfather. And so they would say, well, we remember you when you used to come in diapers, and then I would be like, oh gosh, and now I'm their boss. And I tried to be very respectful of that. That I'm younger, that they worked with my grandfather, that they worked here at the company through the building of the company and the tough times and all of that. And I felt like I wanted to respect that tradition and what they had given to the family and the business.
Yeah, and from the outside looking in, it certainly seems like you have. I know we talked on a call earlier in the month, and I was telling you that my uncle works here, and he's been here for 20-something years. So I'm not sure where in the family lineage, if he was here at the time that your grandfather was here.
Probably just after. Probably just after. Yeah.
But again, there's not a lot of people that stay in organizations for 20-something years anymore. And so I think it's a testament to like the culture and that culture transition through the leadership. I think that's there's definitely something to be said about that for the Lee company in particular.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I mean, we're very appreciative of our employees, and I think well aware that we wouldn't be where we are today if it weren't for our employees. And, we try to really respect that. And, we're a family-owned business. They're family members that work here, but we personally feel like the company is our family. And the people that work here are our family, and we try to treat them as such.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think that shows in the culture. I know there's, when you hear the Lee company, you hear a lot about like the benefits and the things that are provided for the employees, because there is, again, something to be said about take care of your employees and they'll take care of the clients, and like all that stuff kind of comes around full circle. Where did that people first mindset come from?
It certainly was here when I got here. And I always get asked that question. And so I've come up with my theory of the case is that, our family is very proud, and we're very proud of what we've accomplished, and we want to give back to our employees. But I think it really started with my grandfather, and my theory of the case is that he was like a mad scientist with these crazy ideas, a renegade, starting this business, risking everything to start this business. And anyone that came to work with him was in their own right taking a risk to come work for him. And I think he was so appreciative of that and realized that, somebody just left a really good job with a well-established company because they believed in him. And so he felt like he needed to give back to them because he was so appreciative.
Yeah.
So that's my theory of the case. And that's sort of transcended. And I think also we feel like if you take care of the employees, everything else will sort itself out.
Yeah. I believe in the same exact thing. I think it definitely helps when you step into a leadership role and you have that mentality where it's like, you're the leader of the company, you're the one providing the paychecks to all the employees and stuff like that, but those employees are the thing that makes everything go round. And so if you get the mindset of like, I really appreciate these people and look at them like they're family because we're all in this together, kind of working to the same goal. I think that helps as a leader, because if you're thinking about it from a perspective where, you're like, I am the leader of this company, and like people should be grateful to be here and that kind of stuff. I think that sets a different tone. And like I said, it's 78 years now, so it sounds like the right tone was set from the beginning and has continued to go through over the generations. Right.
And you know what, certainly any leader of any organization is very cognizant of the bottom line, but that's not our main focus. And we always say, like, if a business school student came in and looked at our finances, they would say, like, are you crazy offering free health insurance? You could make so much more money if you would just change that, or if you didn't have a profit sharing plan or any of that. And that's not what's important to us.
Yeah. And I'm assuming having benefits like that helps tremendously with retention.
It does. We have a lot of employees that have been here a very long time. In fact, we have service awards that we give out at regular intervals for people's anniversaries and things like that. And I've been privileged to give out service awards for people that have been here over 50 years, which is really amazing if you think about
years.
it. Yes.
That is amazing.
So that's
Wow.
really fun. And you get a great service award for that because
Yeah.
they go up, they ratchet up as the years
Oh, really?
go on. Yeah. So you get something very nice, like a grandfather clock or something like that. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, talking about the benefits and like the employees feeling valued, what kind of like results have you seen because of your employees feeling valued?
I'm not sure what you mean by that. What do you mean by results? Like financial results,
Well,
or
whether it's business outcomes or you've been able to achieve, tough deadlines that allowed you to get products out that were used in something like...
I mean, I don't have a specific example, but I do feel like when it's an all hands on deck situation, like, we've got to get this order out for a customer or what have you, there's cooperation and people rally around that. People get excited by that. And, that might also have to do with our profit sharing plan. We have, I think it was one of the first profit sharing plans in the country when it was established, and probably one of the few that still remain to this day. Most companies, don't have the level of profit sharing that we do. We all share in the benefits of making our customers happy and things like that. And, I have seen a lot of enthusiasm whenever it's all hands on deck situation. People really get excited. During COVID, we were making parts for ventilators. We actually we were even making it out of our automotive division. We have a medical division. They obviously were, but automotive was sort of dead, and we were able to make some ventilator parts in that division as well. And we shifted one of our product lines to 3 shifts and trained people from different divisions on that and everything. And people were so enthusiastic. I mean, obviously we felt like we were doing something to help the COVID situation. So that was part of it too. But, I think people really got excited about that. And periodically we have situations where there's, an airplane on the ground or this or that and the other thing, and we got to get stuff done. And people will upend things to make it happen.
Yeah. And that, again, goes back to the culture. Having the culture that you guys have breeds that. It makes the team rally together, when there's times that you need to hunker down and get things done. Like, it's less of an ask and more of like a natural thing where they're like, we got to get this done. They all rally behind it. Like, I think that, again, it all comes back to culture. So I think that, is really cool.
Thanks.
As far as like your organization today, so I'm curious, like from when you started till now, how has like the workforce changed, like, or what has changed the most in that time?
I would say, I think we've got some more women in more senior roles, which is terrific.
Awesome. Yep.
There was literally no women in any sort of management position when I started. That was 25 years ago, and that's probably the case for most manufacturing companies in New England. That's probably not unique to us, but I have seen that change. And I also think, I don't know, maybe I'm older, but it just seems like a lot of younger employees, more 20-somethings coming here, which I think is great. Like people right out of trade school, coming right here. So. Yeah.
And so, having that change in the workforce, specifically for younger employees, how has like, the feedback of like how you engage with them and like actually get them interested, like how does that work, right? Like how do you actually get in touch with these younger people that you're looking to bring in?
When I was running a manufacturing group here at the company, like I felt what was really important was for people to know what they were doing every day and what they were making a part. But what was that part being used for, and sort of connecting the dots. So I have tried to make a push for us to make sure that everybody knows you're not just making like a check valve. Your check valve is going in this spaceship, and this spaceship is going to do this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
And this is going to be revolutionary because of this. Or it's going in this piece of diagnostic equipment, medical diagnostic equipment, that helps diagnose this disease or that disease. So I think for me, connecting the dots has been a big push, and the feedback that I get is that the employees really love to know what they're working on and what it's going in. It just gives more meaning to what they're doing every day.
Yeah, I think that's a common theme with a lot of people like now in the 20s coming into business. They're Gen Zs, and they're definitely feeling more like mission and purpose driven.
Yes.
And so being able to connect the dots to say that this part that you're making is actually going into this, is I think one of the best ways to actually engage with them. Outside of making TikToks.
Yes.
You could do TikToks for them, but not a lot of people want to make those. But no, in all seriousness, it's one of the ways that I think is the easiest way to connect with them, because they're genuinely curious. They want to do something that has them feel like they're making a difference. And so specifically in your industry, all of the defense side and aerospace, all of that is making a difference every day, because it's constantly evolving.
For sure. And I think I don't even think that's the younger generation. For me, knowing like what we're doing every day, like I think recently I was somewhere and my phone, something came up on the phone to show that I was connected to my phone service and internet through Starlink, like the little satellite thing that's new on your phone. And we're part of that.
Yep.
And I was like, I was grinning from ear to ear. I'm like, that is so cool.
Yeah.
So cool. It is so great to know that we're not just making little metal doodads. We're actually part of sort of a bigger ecosystem that's making people's lives better in many ways.
Yeah. And I think that is great feedback for, again, any leader, because in every business, no matter what you're doing, you're not just doing that specific thing, right? There's always a bigger purpose. And I think that is a perfect piece of advice to give to anybody, to use that as a tool to be able to help bring the employees together, have them really charging towards something. So I love that piece of advice for sure. Yeah. So we were talking earlier about your growing workforce, and you're roughly around like 1,100 employees today, but constantly growing.
Yes.
And so how do you stay competitive? Because we are in a very unique area of the state, and there's definitely some competition.
Yeah.
So how do you stay competitive?
There is competition, and listen, I also serve on the Connecticut Business and Industry Association Board of Directors, so I have sort of numbers at my fingertips. But Connecticut has about 80,000 people that are currently unemployed looking for work, and there's almost 100,000 open jobs in Connecticut. So if every single unemployed person was able to find a job that fit their skills and get hired, we would still have 15 to 20,000 job openings without people to fill them. So that's not a great situation. And it is competitive, and we're in a, not a very densely populated area of the state as well. So, we try to, push our, family values and good benefits and good place to work and good work-life balance and all of that. But certainly it's competitive. Yeah. And a lot of the defense industry is growing right now, and everybody's hiring. And
so I feel like that puts you in a tough spot, because at the same time, depending on organizations, they have different structure of the way that they have benefits or compensation or incentive plans and stuff like that. But the younger generation, I feel like, and this is from my personal experience, right? Because we hire a ton of people out of basically like a trade school. They're just doing IT. and the conversation is always about like compensation. Like that's it. Like what is my actual like W-2 income?
Yeah.
And they don't think about some of the other things that go into like a compensation package and different benefits. So, you know, if you could give advice to, you know, a younger person coming into the workforce, you know, I know livable wages is an important thing, right? But, you know, what advice would you give to somebody to like, what would they look out for?
Well, I can certainly give advice, but I can tell you when I first entered the workforce, it didn't even dawn on me to ask, you know, whoever was hiring me, like, what does the health insurance package look like? Because, you know, you're 25 years old, you're never going to get sick in your mind. So it wasn't even on my radar. So I can give advice, but I can tell you that I did not think about any of this when I was that age. But, you know, we have a really great profit sharing plan, and the 25-year-olds, again, like you said, that's not on their radars. They want a higher hourly wage, but I can point to people here that have a really great retirement plan package because of years of working here.
Yep.
And I have adult children early in their careers and tell them, put as much as you can into your retirement plan now. You will be happy when you are my age. I don't know if they listen, but, and you never know. Health insurance, I think, is so important. And again, the 25-year-olds don't really look at that. So it's education, it's life experience, it's all of that.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting for people that, you know, are below 26. They're probably on their parents' plan or something like that.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, if I could go back to a younger version of Sal, I would say if I had the opportunity to have 100% covered benefits, I should come off my parents' plan. Because, like, one, I'm managing everything on my own, getting some experience and learning that stuff, but I'm also saving them money at the same time, right? And so, like, we're helping in different ways, but that's me now as a dad and how I'm going to lecture my kids into that.
Right.
But it does make a difference, right? And I think making sure people really understand that stuff, because they might think I'm making more, you know, in my hourly wage, but they're not going to put anything away for retirement,
right?
The way that they would, you know, if that was something that they were focused on. So
right.
I think it's good perspective.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of going down the path of talking to about younger employees and bringing them on. I know you believe in like development plans and like growing people and, you know, constantly like improving. So what inspired you to like build your internal training like program?
Yeah, so we started right before COVID, Lee University,
I love that.
Which is an internal training program, just like you said. And I think it really came from, it started out largely that we were having a hard time finding skilled machinists and tool makers. And we said, you know what, we should really have sort of an internal apprentice program where we can skill people up for that. You know, machinists could become tool makers and such. And so it started that way. And it was so successful, and the employees embraced it and saw it as such an opportunity to gain new skills and advance themselves in their careers here at the company, that we started expanding it to, you know, you could become an inspector, a certified inspector. You could, now we even have just introduction to manufacturing classes. So somebody that maybe was working at, you know, in retail or at Dunkin' Donuts or something totally with no manufacturing experience could come in and, you know, within their first couple months here could run through a class maybe 1 or 2 days a week while they're on the payroll here.
Very cool.
Take time away from their regular job to go and just sort of learn more about manufacturing and blueprint reading and things like that. So it really took off in a way. I think we knew it would be successful sort of in the toolmaker machinist arena, but we didn't really realize how much we were going to expand it and how much the employees would really love to do it. And now we have waiting lists for some of the classes, so it's great.
That's great. Yeah,
it's really great.
It's our organizations are very similar because we did something that we foresaw the issue coming down the line, where it was, we do things a certain way at Charles IT, and we would bring in people who worked at other managed service providers, and they would have all these preconceived notions and bad habits and all these different things. And that was like the first part of us thinking like this is going to be a problem. But the second part was it became really hard to hire people in IT, just like it is in manufacturing. And so we did basically the same thing, where it was like we created an IT trainee program, and we worked with different like state agencies to like bring people in and put them through like a boot camp basically. So ours is a little bit different. It's like a 90-day program. Like it's intensive 90-day. We pay you though for the entire program. And then the ones that work the hardest, show the most like drive and aptitude, those are the ones that end up getting the full-time jobs at the end of it. And so we started off and it was like 4 people a quarter, and now it's like we're doing like a dozen a quarter, and our organization is about 200 people. And so like you're still putting 48 people through the program, like you're moving some serious people through training. So the whole idea again was, how can we train them on the skills that we want them to have and what will make them successful and what our clients are looking for. So again, I think it's one of the best strategies for an organization who is in like a rapid growth and constantly looking for talent.
Right.
But I love the fact that you have even like introduction to manufacturing, so you can pivot out of anything into that. I think that's really cool.
And what we make is, it's all mission critical parts. And so our quality is so important, and our tolerances are very tight. And even machinists that come from other places, like they're not trained in like how seriously we take our quality. So there's always a little bit of a learning curve there. And this has really been, to a certain extent, you want people to come in that have skills, but you also want them to do things your way. So this has afforded us that opportunity, other than on the job training, to really just drive home the importance of quality and make sure that everybody is operating with that in mind.
Yeah, it's cool. You get to take some of the good of they were at a different company with different experiences, but also get them into like, this is how we do things here. And like, I think that's really good.
It's been really great for us. Yeah.
So if I can ask you a question that will potentially give some insider information to some candidates that don't have manufacturing skills, what characteristics of a person, makes worth investing in them, right? So what do you look for when you're bringing some of these people in?
Great question. And I always think back to, it's a sort of a case study on hiring, and it was Zappos, which is still around. It's like one of the original internet shoe companies where you could buy shoes. And they always said, we hire for character, we train for skills, right? So if someone has a good attitude, we can teach them everything else, right? If you have a positive attitude and a willingness to learn, that's it. We can train for anything else.
I love that.
And I stand by that. And I think that was a great model. And that was sort of revolutionary at the time, which is hard to believe that was revolutionary. But everybody thought, wow, that's crazy that they're willing to hire someone just because they think they're a good person. Yeah.
No, I love that. And I think, again, for those watching, you're welcome. Now you know the secret to getting in the door. But I think that's spot on for like most entry level jobs, right? Like as long as like I look at it, I usually go with humble, hungry, and smart. Like those 3 things. Like if you don't know IT, that is totally okay, right?
Yeah.
Like we're gonna get you there. We'll be able to teach you that stuff, but I'm not gonna be able to teach you to be a good person, be charismatic, be able to empathize with somebody. Like those are the things that like I'm looking for, and if you're willing to learn, then organizations like ours, organizations like yours, they're willing to invest. So
Right.
I think that's
Right.
really cool.
And it's great. Like, we have people here now that are very senior level vice presidents and such that came in as a summer intern and then
Really?
got hired in an entry level position and then used one of our benefits is a tuition reimbursement program to go get a college degree, and then went on to get a graduate degree, and now they're a senior employee. And it was just because they were a good kid
Yeah.
way back when, and we took them on, and they've sort of thrived here.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. And I think that, again, it's a good case study for people coming in the door that, like, there is a path. There's a way to continue to move yourself up in the organization. So,
For sure.
so our last couple things here, specifically want to talk about your experience serving on some boards, and what has serving on those boards as a leader in the organization, kind of either helped you with running the business, or given you insight into certain things or connections to people. What has been like some of the major benefits on like your business in particular? Because I serve on a few boards myself, and there's definitely a lot of like purpose of like why I joined the boards and like what I'm trying to help achieve there. But there's always something that like somehow ties back to bringing these skills back into the business.
Right,
Do you
it's so
have
true.
examples of that?
Yeah, I mean, I've served sort of throughout my career on a variety of nonprofit boards, for-profit boards, et cetera. And certainly CBIA, Connecticut Business and Industry Association, has been great, meeting other leaders throughout Connecticut and learning that our struggles here at the Lee Company are not unique. Certainly all of us are sort of in it together with a lot of the same struggles. And I think even like some of the smaller nonprofit boards, very much similar struggles, just, smaller scale, bigger scale. But I think it's so important for anyone, whether you're a leader or not, in your community to give back in some way. And whether that's serving on a town commission or volunteering at the school or something like that, I think it's really important, and it connects you and reminds you of, who you are in the community in which you live, which serves all of us and our employees as well. I think it's so important.
Yeah, for sure. So we talked about the change in manufacturing earlier, about there's becoming more and more women in manufacturing. I've talked to a few different female leaders in manufacturing in particular, and you're definitely one of like the really well-known ones in Connecticut. And I think part of that is you getting yourself out there, representing the boards, being at CBIA in particular. But what has that experience been like? As a woman leading a traditionally male-dominated industry.
It is great because there is a pocket of us, female women in manufacturing in Connecticut. I think we all know each other.
Yeah.
So it's fun to see them at industry events and have friendships with them. But, it's interesting. I grew up in a house, our mom died when we were a little kid. I was the only girl. I grew up in a male household. So I kind of didn't really know any differently. And then coming here to the Lee Company was, more often than not, and still am, the only female at the board table and, in the meeting. And I don't know, it just sort of I don't know that it wasn't ever anything I thought about. It was just the way it was.
Yeah.
But it is so great now to have other females that I know that are sort of in the same position. I love that a lot. It is challenging,
Yeah.
It is challenging. I just spent the weekend with a bunch of girlfriends. It's different. It's different being at a table with all ladies than all men. I'm not going to deny it. It's not better or worse. It's just different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, and I'll ask you as well, but something that I'm really optimistic for in the manufacturing space in particular. As the years ahead of us, I think because the way manufacturing is changing and it's becoming less of like this grit and grind type like work, and there's a lot more technology involved and precision and stuff like that. I feel like that's starting to open the door to allow like it to be more appealing to women, and so I think that will help get more people in the door, and then once they're in the door, right, hungry, humble, smart, they can work their way up too. So that's something that I think is an optimistic point in the manufacturing space. Curious.
Yeah, no, we've seen that too, and I think sort of the vision of what manufacturing is like. You think of the movies, dirty shop floor, like overalls and a tool belt, and it's very different here. It's air conditioned, and we're wearing lab coats, and it's very clean, and it's a great environment to work in. It's quiet. It's not noisy. It's not dirty. Not that that's more female or male or whatever, but it's just less of what you saw in the Hollywood movies. And that, I think that sort of perspective is changing and people are seeing it. And as we have more and more women come to work here, and I'm going to say this, and it is a little bit sexist, but our parts are so little and detail oriented. Women mostly are better at putting them together with tweezers, and I know that's probably not a PC thing to say, but
the truth is the truth.
Biologically, like we're a little bit more dexterous with our fingers and doing small things, and so we're not lifting giant things onto machines. We're putting together very small little things, and I think it is just a more female-friendly environment than it has been historically.
Yep. So outside of, I would say, the large bubble of manufacturing and narrowing back into like aerospace and defense world, what excites you the most about being in this space now and again for the years to come?
Literally space.
Yeah.
Space is what excites me right now. I am so excited by what the private space companies are doing, exploring space, all the satellites. It's amazing, and it's moving so fast. It's unbelievable to see sort of the technology, and the possibilities are really endless of what can happen in space. And if you listen to Elon Musk, he wants apartment buildings on Mars, and all sorts of things. It's crazy to think that one day that may happen. I certainly don't want to live up there, but there's such amazing things that can happen. And they're doing medical research in space, because different drugs and different diseases behave differently in space than they do here, and certain drugs can be developed better in space. I mean,
it's crazy.
It's endless. It's crazy. Every day there's something new that I find out is going on in space. It's so fun. Yeah.
Wow. That's very cool. Well, that's the end of the episode here. So I really appreciate all the time and the perspective that you gave. I think it was a great conversation.
Thank you. It was really fun being on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.